So this is just a review question. We're finding x to the nearest tenth, which is 1 decimal place. So first, we always label our triangle. Here's the corner we're standing in, and this is the opposite. This is the hypotenuse. So if you are using SOHCAHTOA, looks like opposite hypotenuse is sine. So we're going to use sine of x is equal to opposite over hypotenuse. And a reminder, how do you undo a sine to get x by itself? Well, you need to sine inverse both sides. Sine inverse this side, sine inverse that side. So you'll have x equal to sine inverse 2 over 5. And if I put that into my calculator, I'm going to hit second or shift sign. In brackets, I'll put 2 over 5. And I'm getting 23.6 degrees. If you are not getting that, you might be in radians. You might have to switch your calculator back. By the way, your calculator, every time you clear it, switches to radians. So that's going to be a problem if you don't know how to put it back into degree. From a point on the ground, 47 feet from the foot of a tree. So we're standing here from the foot of a tree. The angle of elevation to the top of the tree is 35 degrees. So a reminder that that is the angle that you have raised your eyes in order to look at the top of the tree. Find the height of the tree to the nearest foot. So from a point on the ground, 47 feet from the foot of a tree, angle of elevation is 35 degrees. Find the height of the tree. So in order to do this, first we got to label our triangle. This is our angle of interest. This is the opposite side, because if we stand in this corner and we shoot an arrow, it'll end up on the opposite side. And then the hypotenuse is here, and the adjacent side is here. We call this adjacent because it's adjacent to this. I'm giving a little bit more of an explanation because I have a lot of new people here today. So if we go back to our SOHCAHTOA, which is our little slogan we use to choose which ratio we should be using, then you can see that we have the opposite side and we have the adjacent side. So opposite and adjacent means we are going to choose T, which stands for tan. So tan of the angle, 35 degrees, is equal to opposite over adjacent, so x over 47. So to get x by itself, we need to multiply both sides by 47. And now x is equal to 47 times tan, 35 degrees. So I'll put that in my calculator, 47 times tan of 35 degrees. And I'm getting x is equal to 33 feet. This is the answer. On a windy day, a 90-foot rope, here's the rope, tightly secures a hot air balloon to a stake on the ground. So there's the stake. From the balloon, the angle of depression to the stake is 62 degrees. Find the height of the balloon, assuming the wind to be constant. So I just want to remind everybody what the angle of depression means. It means that you are standing here, you were looking straight ahead, and then you lowered your eyes to see something on the ground. This is the angle of depression. So how can we find the height of the balloon? So there are two ways to do this question. The first way is to understand that if we have this angle, then really the triangle that we're dealing with is this one. Now, luckily, these two triangles are congruent. You just have to be aware that this side, this is a 90-foot rope, so we're actually looking for this, which is the height of the balloon. So if I label this triangle, here's the angle I'm interested in. Here's the opposite side. Here's the hypotenuse. And then here's the adjacent. And if I have the opposite side and the hypotenuse side, then which one am I choosing? Let's see. SOHCAHTOA. So I have the opposite and the hypotenuse, so I'm going to choose sine. So sine of x is equal to opposite, oh, sorry, not x, 62 degrees, is x over 90. So again, I'm going to multiply both sides by 90. And let's see, x is equal to 90 times sine of 62. So I put that in my calculator. I am getting x is equal to 79. So this is the answer. So you guys were correct. Now, there was another way to do this if you wanted to. You could also label this because you would say, okay, well, I really want to use this triangle, the green one here. If you want to use that one, you can, but you have to understand the angle of depression is not this one. So to get this angle, you'd have to take 90 minus 62, and you could relabel this, and you could say that this angle is 28. And then you could do this question again, but now you're looking for this height. So you're going to be using adjacent over hypotenuse. So you would be using cos. So if you use cos of 28 is equal to x over 90, you will also get the correct answer. So just be careful, but there are actually two ways to do it. A shopper is standing on level ground 800 feet from the base of a 250-foot tall department store. So they're standing outside, away from the store. The shopper looks up, sees a flag on the store's roof. To the nearest degree, what is the angle of elevation to the top of the building from the point on the ground where the shopper is standing? So this was the question, and I have given you three options for the diagram that I could use for this question. First, I would like you to choose A, B, or C, which diagram you like best, which one you think matches. And once you do that, then you can try and figure out what the angle of elevation is. So the diagram that the majority of students chose was this one here. Because this is the store. You are standing here, 800 meters away, and then you raise your eyes by a certain degree. Now, if it was a multiple choice question, you could just plug in all these for X to C. But if it was not multiple choice, you would have to decide. So first, I label the triangle. Here's the hypotenuse, here's the opposite, and here's the adjacent side. So if I have opposite and adjacent, which it looks like I do, then SOHCAHTOA says opposite adjacent, I'm going to use tan. So tan of x is equal to opposite over adjacent. And then how do I undo a tan? Well, I have to tan inverse. So you're going to tan inverse both sides. Tan inverse this and tan inverse that. And so tan inverse of this. Now, how do I put that in my calculator? You want to hit second tan or shift tan, depending on what kind of calculator you have. So it's tan inverse, and then put in brackets, 250 divided by 800. And if you do that correctly, you are going to get 17. X is equal to 17.35. Now be careful with your rounding because this is a 3. This rounds to 17, not to 18. This question says, from the top of a 108-foot lighthouse, the angle of depression of a boat at sea is 27 degrees. Find the horizontal distance from the boat to the base of the lighthouse to the nearest foot. Okay, which diagram you guys like? So most of you guys chose diagram C, which says this is the lighthouse, and then the boat would be over here, and then the angle of depression would be this one here. But then you could, because they want to use this triangle, you could minus it from 90 so that you can get the angle in here, because this is not the angle of depression, this is the angle of depression. So diagram C definitely will work. However, nobody chose diagram A, which actually is also correct. You could use this one. So here's the angle of depression. It's the exact same triangle. You just have to realize that this distance up here is the same as this distance down here. And this distance is the same as the height of the lighthouse over here. So actually, if you use A or C, both of them will work. Do not use diagram B. It is incorrect. This is not the angle of depression. That's why this one's wrong. All right, so if I use diagram A, which I'm going to use because it's my preferred diagram, then I have to label the sides. So here's the opposite side, here's the hypotenuse side, and here's the adjacent side. Okay, so then if I have the adjacent and I have the opposite, then SOHCAHTOA says I should use tan because tan of 27 is opposite over adjacent, 108 over x. Oh my gosh, what do I do if x is in the bottom? Well, if x is in the bottom, you have to times both sides by x to get it in the top. But then x is still not isolated, so you have to divide both sides by tan 27 to get it isolated. Tan 27. So then x is equal to 108 over tan 27. No wonder it was taking you guys so long, because this one has an extra step. So type 108 divided by tan 27, and I am getting x is equal to 211.96. So that rounds to 212. Okay, so a lot of students were getting the wrong answer, and most of them wanted to do it with diagram C. So I'm just also going to do it like that. So if you want to use diagram C, this should still work. Here's the angle of interest. Here's opposite. Here's adjacent. So then if you take tan of 63, you should get opposite over adjacent. And then you got to multiply both sides by 108 in order to get x by itself. So 108 tan of 63 also comes out to 211. So you should be able to do it that way as well. The only thing I can think of is if you did it wrong is if you flipped the fraction and you didn't do opposite over adjacent, you did adjacent over opposite. So just make sure that you know those that SOHCAHTOA inside and out. A flagpole 18 feet tall casts a shadow 12 feet long. So I'm just going to draw a picture. So this is our flagpole, 18 feet tall. The shadow is 12 feet long. To the nearest degree, find the angle of elevation of the sun. So you're going to do enough problems like this to realize that this is what's happening here. You are looking just at the top of the tree because the sun is over here, and that's the reason why the shadow is 12 feet long. So we're looking for this. Always your first step is to label the triangle. If you label your triangle incorrectly, things are going to go badly. So here's the opposite, here's the adjacent, and here's the hypotenuse. Now, because we're doing opposite and adjacent, so SOHCAHTOA, looks like opposite and adjacent means we're choosing tan. So tan of x is 18 over 12, opposite over adjacent. And then to get x by itself, you're going to have to tan inverse both sides. So tan inverse of 18 over 12 in brackets, 18 over 12 is 56 degrees. This is the one.